Welcome to the Adventures in Learning podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Diane, and today we have author Alicia D. Williams on with us. We're going to talk about her world travels, about the need to seek kindness and joy, and about my new favorite picture book, Nani and the Lion, which I hope will become your new favorite picture book as well. Wonder, curiosity, connection. Where will your adventures take you? I'm Dr. Diane, and thank you for joining me on today's episode of Adventures in Learning. Alicia, welcome to the show.
As always, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so delighted to have you, especially because you've made space for me in the middle of your world travels. You have been out seeking the most magnificent adventures over the last year or so. And I was thinking maybe before we start, this is the Adventures in Learning podcast after all. Tell us where you've been and what you brought back from all of that.
Wow. I love that you said this past year because I feel like I'm just getting started. But my first trip was to prove that I was brave. And I took a solo trip to Paris. It was for a writer's retreat, so I wasn't totally alone, but I felt so brave navigating the trains, going to off the path places, some beautiful museums, and I learned that I am not a tourist, but a traveler, a wanderer, getting lost and finding my way and laughing at myself. So I learned to let go, and I enjoyed France so much. So when I came back, and got rid of all of my belongings and finished up purging my home. My first trip was in 2025, and that was to San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And that was in January, February. I spent 5 weeks in the mountains listening and learning to listen to myself again. Every day I will wake up to the sun and just practice gratitude and appreciation. And that was 5 weeks, and I spent a little time in Mexico City, which I enjoyed. But I was there with my daughter, so I still needed to prove that I could do this by myself. So spent a week in Curacao, and I was working on some speeches there. Got so sick. Got so sick there. And when I came back, I was still jumping back and forth from Charlotte. But then I spent time May through September, August maybe. I was in Toronto and Montreal.
Mm.
There, I found so much joy. People said, "You're so different." I don't know what it was, but every day I was happy. Every day I was happy. Then I've gone to Accra, Ghana. I've gone to Sonoma, California, where I had house at, San Francisco, London, and I ended the year in Ireland, Dublin, and began 2026 in Italy.
That's incredible. And you said you started it to figure out how you could be brave on your own. What did
Yes.
you learn along the way?
So I want to back up for just a second and
Yeah.
what that means. I was brave. We spoke about discovering ourselves when we're young. And in my 20s, I was brave. I left college and I went to New York and I bounced here, I bounced there. I didn't need money. We didn't even have cell phones. We had
Right.
payphones back then. And I don't know how my mom, allowed me to go, but she trusted, I guess, that it would be okay. And I always landed on my feet no matter what. But when life happens, as we grow older, I became a mom and I became a single mother. So for so long, my life was on survival mode. I took jobs just to make sure that we had a roof over our head, that I could provide a meal for my daughter. And there were times that if she ate that dinner, I didn't eat that night because it was all about survival. The jobs I had were not paying the bills, and I lost myself. I completely became a broken part of who I was just trying to figure out how to survive day to day and pouring into my daughter so she wouldn't have a lifestyle or know that we
Mhm.
were on food stamps. After she grew to a point where she was self sufficient, I began to think about who I was and long for that fancy free spirit of mine from my 20s and wonder where was that person? Is she still inside of me? And if she is, who would she be now? What would she be doing now? Or, that was who she was in her 20s. But what would that fancy free person be in her 50s?
Right.
And I long for that. But I taught myself with so much fear, talked myself out of really exploring what that looked like. And so that's when I decided I know I am not living life in my cul-de-sac home. I don't have the community I want. I don't have the connections I want. And there's so much more into this world than coming home, working, watching TV, having dinner, the basics.
Right.
And that's when I want to prove I am brave. I'm going to find out who that person is, that who she should be now, who I am. And so I learned, to your question, I learned that that person is in me. All I had to do was give her permission to come out. I am brave. I am full of life. I love living life. I love laughing. I love traveling. I love meeting strangers. I discovered that there's just so much more to me that I'm just now pulling the layers back of the petals. I'm just now pulling open the petals to see what's inside.
I love that. And you were saying that in addition to discovering you, you were seeking to discover the kindness in others and whether kind people actually exist outside of our little bubbles. What did you find?
They do. Our bubbles are consumed with, for the most part, what reality is, what is told to us through the news channels, whether it's a true lens or a biased lens. We're getting the news. We are regurgitating the news to each other. Can you believe this is happening? Aren't you angry? We all should be angry. What are you doing? What are we going to do? We're always consumed with not just what's happening in our own family, the tragedy or the toxic behaviors or whatever it is, the negativity in our own
Right.
families, right? But we're also consumed with our communities. There was a robbery down the street, or there was someone who domestic violence. So we are they're feeling those energies. But now we have the United States, right? Our own
Right.
countries. And now we have what's happening in the world.
So we're
You know,
adding layer upon layer of toxicity to our bubble.
and that's what we're doing. And I found that, we will carve small moments to celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, a graduation, these things. But I knew that moments of tuning in became so much more, especially after the pandemic. And I felt it so much during the social justice, the everything that was happening.
Yes.
And I knew from my past experiences that the world is kind. And I remember listening to someone speak, and I know it sounds woo woo, but they said, just ask the universe to show me how kind the world is. So when I would go to a place, when I went to Mexico, when I went to France, I didn't want to be fearful being a solo traveler or being by
Right.
myself. So I said, show me how kind the world is. But not just that, I learned that I'm kind. I'm kind. So I was speaking with a friend, and the kindness comes out within small gestures, these small moments with someone who's ringing you up. And I'll pause and I have this moment of connection to say, I see you. Hey, excuse me, what is your name? Oh my gosh, your hair is beautiful. I love your smile. Thank you so much. And it shifts the energy. So, this kindness that I think about, show me how kind the world is, in essence, is let me show the world how kind it could be as well.
It's
So, it's a reciprocal.
reciprocal. Absolutely.
Yes.
I've found that, I was telling you I broke my arm skiing recently. And so I've had lots of opportunities to engage with, the medical community, but also, little individual services. And I found that my whole world is shifted by taking an interest in people and by asking those questions, how did you get into radiology? What brought you into this field, or you look beautiful today. Thank you so much for taking care of me. And it opens up a whole new world of understanding. And you're right. There is more kindness than I think we recognize if we're clickbaiting on all of the social media and the 24/7 news cycle. And I don't think we have to go as far as South Africa or even Italy to find it. It can be right in our own backyard. We just have to be open to it.
Yes, we have to be open to it. I think sometimes we build up these walls and we judge a person before we even meet them. I think the part of that is to our own self protection.
Of course.
I remember when I was in Montreal and I thought, here we go again. Nobody's even making eye contact with me. I'm walking down the street and I'm invisible. I am so tired of being invisible. I'm so tired of feeling lonely, feeling ostracized, not feeling like I fit in. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to be me. I'm going to walk out this door and I'm going to smile. I'm going to say bonjour. And if they speak, then they'll be blessed for it. And if they don't, I'll be okay. As soon as I made that declaration, it was so fast. I would go walking in the park every day. Now, put on my little fanny pack, had my little headphones on, but I didn't have them on at the time. I walked down the steps of the Airbnb and I walked two doors down. As soon as I began to pass, it was an older couple on the porch. Sure. And I thought, bonjour. They spoke to me. We had a small conversation. They introduced me to a neighbor that was coming in. Another neighbor was coming in. They invited me over to dinner. We ate. We broke bread. And this is one thing I started doing. I got the Polaroid camera, and I would take pictures because I also want to find beauty in the most mundane things that are overlooked, beauty in gestures. And I took a picture of us. And I gave one to them and one for me because I would journal. Journal all of these memories. You would have thought I gave them a gold key. Alicia, it was just a Polaroid picture.
But it
But
made them feel seen.
it made them feel seen. And they were like, I got to show my children. It's like it's a Polaroid. But moving this kindness, it was just a small gift to say that I appreciate this moment and I hope we remember this moment versus a snapshot on our phones that
Yeah.
we're going to scroll through. And do you know, I went back in September. We kept in touch through Instagram, but they were leaving. And so I missed them. But one day I said, I'm going to walk down that street on the way to the park. I did. The husband was out there sweeping. He saw me. I said, Chaussee. He said, Alicia, he was so surprised. We hugged. We were just, and then I met other friends that I thought, this is amazing. The shift of, I just wanted to see how kind people are because I'm going to be kind. I'm going to say bonjour, whether they say bonjour back or not. And I have friends now in Montreal.
I love that. That happened to me in South Africa. Like you, I've been trying to lean more into finding that person I was in my 20s and who she is now, and letting her come out and be adventuresome and do things like that. And I took a risk and I applied to join the Children's Book Creators for Conservation and wound up going as part of their trip with Wild Tomorrow last fall to South Africa. And I didn't know any of these people in person before we went. So that was a big leap forward for me, but I wound up loving all of them. But then it was meeting the people who were doing the work, sitting and reading with a little child at a preschool in Durban and doing things like watching the young women who tend to rhinos in the rhino orphanage and talking to them about what brought them to this dangerous work. And I felt like I built this network of friends simply by being interested in them. And as you said, it's starting with that kindness within yourself, the genuine interest in the world around you. I think vibration attracts vibration, and people are drawn to that.
Well, one, I'm totally interested in that project that you mentioned, but you're absolutely right. People attracted, and once you decide that this is the vibration that you're going to be at, the level that you're going to be at, these small rendezvous happen. I met, and there are moments from the grocery store to the bakery. I'm in Italy. I can't speak Italian, but these small interactions in these small towns were so big. And I've learned to shift energy with that. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm, an energy shifter. But no, it's a purposeful idea that I feel like with my writing, I want my writers to be in a better place
Mm-hmm.
after they finish my book. It's the same thing with the way I live my life. I want whoever I interact with to be left in a better space. Because oftentimes, many people feel unseen. We've all felt isolated. We all felt lonely. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know the moment that happened before we walked up. We don't know what is happening in their lives. It could be amazing things,
Right, but we don't know.
but we don't know. And as my job as trying to be a better human is to leave you better off. And when you are vibrating at a higher level, you know that the words you speak will be the thing that they may need. And I was in line for coffee, and I butchered the Italian to try to get some coffee without milk.
Right. Cafe sense latte.
And when you start speaking and you just, oh my God, you freak out if you
Yes.
used to. And the line was busy, and they were busy behind the counter. And I thought, oh my gosh, this interaction might have made her more anxious because now her line is longer. She has more coffees to make. So I stopped and I paused after I ordered, and when she was rushing. And I let her know that I didn't apologize or anything like that, but I made sure that I saw her, and I gave her a compliment on her nails. She paused, looked at her nails, and she was as if she forgot she had them done. She's
Right.
like, crazy. And so later on, she came, do you need anything? Out from behind the counter. You need anything else? I mean, in a little Italian.
Right.
I can get you anything else. And I thought, just saying I see you in the smallest moment of your busy moment, like
Mhm.
we rush through life and we do not pause to say, I see you. And
Yeah.
that's what we do when we vibrate higher.
I agree. And I think that seeing each other is part of how we build community as well. It's truly seeing the people in your neighborhood, stopping and talking to people. And community is bigger than just, as you said, it's bigger than the cul-de-sac. It's bigger than the street you live on. Community is wherever you go. You're in community with the people around you. And so it's finding ways to embrace that and be present, which I think is so important. Imagine a space where curiosity drives innovation, where empathy fuels collaboration, and where learning feels less like a task and more like an adventure. My message isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about changing how you see the plate entirely. I'm Dr. Diane Jackson Schnorr, and through the power of purposeful play, I equip leaders, educators, and organizations with the tools you need to unlock creative problem solving, deepen human connection, and build resistant ecosystems of empathy and innovation. Attendees will walk away not just inspired, but empowered, with immediately usable strategies to spark curiosity in teams, to lead with empathy and to infuse learning into their everyday cultures. You'll learn how play isn't child's work. It's the secret weapon of the world's most effective leaders and change makers. This is not a feel-good talk that fades by Monday morning. It's a movement, a shift in how we engage people, solve problems, and lead meaningful change. My talks and workshops are shaped by decades of experience in education and a transformative message that connects across sectors. Whether your audience is corporate, educational, or nonprofit, they'll leave ready to rethink what's possible, both personally and professionally. Because when we learn and lead through play, we don't just change organizations, we change the world. Check it out at drdianeadventures.com. As you were traveling, you celebrated a book birthday while you were in Italy. Nani and the Lion came out, and it's an original folktale that has that beautiful storytelling. I mean, it's so perfect for a read aloud. You've got the repeated sounds, you've got the drumming, I love the gestures the illustrator chose in terms of like putting the lion's words in yellow and changing the size of the font so that you know when things are getting bigger and when they're quieter. And the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. What sparked this book?
Ultimate question. I do not have a specific answer on the story. They were a mixture of lots of bits and pieces. One, I love folktales. I love oral storytelling. So that's probably one of the things that I've always wanted to do is to write a folktale. The other thing, I am a teacher artist. So when I'm in the classroom with littles, I get them moving, dancing, chanting, drumming, anything that I can do to keep them engaged. And most times I use folktales. And those tend to be the best books because it lends itself to oral storytelling. And I teach the book without even using the book first. I use puppetry, I use theater, and we end up dramatizing it. So by the time we get to the book and I'm going through the pages, they're already telling me the story. So I've already created oral storytellers. So I think during the pandemic, when we came back to the classroom, I was doing Wonder Time, and I thought, you know what? I could write a folktale. I bet you I can. Not to sound cocky, but it was one of those things that I want these students to read something I wrote.
Yep.
And I went home and I started playing with it, and that's what came out. And and now that it's out, I'm like, I hope they see all the potential and all the rhythms, and we can get to marching and we get to roaring. So working with that, Anna did the beautiful illustrations. She has a classic feeling. I remember the editor saying she has a classic feeling to her illustrations. But because I am a visual person as well, the lines, me and my editor, Caitlin, we would go over when they brought over the copy edits with the pages. The copy, whoever did the text, the text creator put them in different colors. But I got to say, for the rhythm, can we have the roar coming out the mouth? Can we have it this way? And
I love that.
I knew like what I thought what I would use in a classroom if I was a teacher, and to have it ba-da-bum, 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 because it lends itself for the person who is reading it will automatically be able to hear it getting larger and louder. So I like to play with the text. I'm not a text expert, but I know how to storytell.
I was going to say, you
helped me.
know how to tell a good story. And I think part of why this book resonates so strongly for me is I'm also a early childhood educator storyteller. And so I love folktales. I love storytelling. I love getting kids involved and engaged in telling the story with you. And the moment I picked this book up, all of those things you said came through so strongly for me that I was like, this is the book I'm going to use for World Read Aloud Day. This is the book I'm using for Read Across America Day. Because I'm like, this is the book. Because it's so engaging. And It's bright and vibrant, and I love Nani. I love the fact that you've got this little girl who really is your heroine at the center of it, because not all folk tales revolve around, a girl playing a drum, and I love that too, but I can hear the craft in the storytelling and could tell that there was sort of you have that history of the rich oral storytelling, and it comes through so clearly.
It's so funny that I didn't when I write a story, it becomes someone else's story. So they bring whatever history and whatever their joys are to the story. And with Nani and thinking about how to craft this story with this lion, I see some of the reviews and I thought, huh, I think about that. I thought when I wrote it, I wasn't even thinking about, oh, this lion is a bully. And oh, I wasn't thinking about any of those things. I was thinking about in a classroom, what would I do? Oh, I would have the kids drum. Help me drum. Ba-dum, ba louder. Ba-dum, ba or we could say, shh, Nani, everybody, let's cheer Nani. Shh,
Yep.
Nani. And though we're all like, we're all dramatizing it as we go through it. And we're roaring. We roar. We're dancing. How does the drum sound? Oh, but how does it? Oh, I'm always like child engaging and having them. Well, do you think this lion would sound like? Or is it a big roar? So I'm thinking how to play with it. But
Right.
then when you get the book, you're bringing in these other themes. And now speaking with you, it makes me think about the deeper themes. And I thought, oh my gosh, this theme is my life. We've been told to be quiet,
Uh-huh.
to fall in line, to not make noise, to not was it make the water wrestle the
Yeah,
water,
don't
wrestle the
ripple the
water,
water, don't
ripple
make
the water.
waves.
Don't make waves because whatever that lion is, it's a metaphor for it. We
Yeah.
can't offend this. But I love that even in my life, I've been doing it, being following the rules and not doing the thing that brought me joy. And now by doing the thing that brings you joy, you're going to quiet the naysayers, the ones who say, by doing the thing
Yeah.
that brings you joy, you free other people. And so,
You tame your
Nani,
lion and you
you
free
take
you free the villagers.
you free the villagers. Nani does the very thing that brings her joy to free the villagers and tame the lion. And I think, oh my gosh, I didn't even mean to do that. Okay, that's wonderful. Like I did not
I
think about these
love
things.
all of that. And you've given me more to add into this, because I think I told you I'm taking this book on the road with me this spring as I'm talking to teachers, because my mission right now is to try to help people see how we can connect learning through play and read alouds for engaged learning, and to find that joy, to spark that joy in the classroom and in our students. And your book gives me sort of that beautiful bridge for teaching people how to do that, because I can show them how you can do exactly what you said. You'll find the metaphor, find the interaction, but then you can also connect it to your STEM STEAM learning. I mean, I found myself thinking, ooh, vibrations, sound, habitats, biomes. Like there are all these other things you can build these connections to. And one of the things I want to show teachers is that you can take any gorgeous multicultural picture book that's well told and then go, how does this also connect to my curriculum, and build those challenges for kids? But it starts with reading aloud.
It does start with the reading aloud. And I hope that teachers will feel free enough not to sit and read the book.
Right. I want them to have fun with it and to play with it and do the engagement with it.
Yeah, there's so much. One of the interviews I did, they said it's musical. And what do you, something about the party at the end, I can't help but want to dance. I love dancing. Kids love wiggling, moving, dancing. What a wonderful way to celebrate. And you can bring them down, celebrate. You're drumming, you're moving around the classroom. How I like the way you're moving. Hey, everybody, let's wiggle. I love the way you're shaking. Everybody shimmy and shake. Like giving kids the freedom to move and express themselves And then quietly, you have a child playing the lion, and quietly, you dramatize that entire scene. And they will have so much fun. And you quietly, and you can bring them up, and then you bring them down quietly.
Exactly. And a
As a
master teacher knows how to do that. And that's part of the fun. When I travel, I often travel with these silly little squeaky pigs because I do fractured fairy tales and beyond ever after with folks. And so I talk about the three pigs and how there are so many variations of it. And teachers are as bad as kids. You hand them a squeaky pig, you're going to get this nonstop. And so I do the thing where I'm like, all right, everybody, the pigs get to talk for 10 seconds. Make them talk as loud as you want. And then we bring it down and we practice and it's fun, but they're learning executive function and self-control and, you're having fun with it. And then you've got their buy-in for, okay, now can we make the pigs fly? Now can we do this with the pigs? And it's joyful.
It's all sure. I appreciate that. I I didn't have a major hope for this book, except that I wanted it to be used in the classroom to cultivate engagement and storytelling and falling in love with stories. And now that I think deeply about it, as we are bringing back the world to focus on kindness and joy, as we are battling attention spans and chat GPT and then the not being able to verbalize as well because children have been out from the pandemic and we're still dealing
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
still a struggle.
That I hope that teachers will remember to lean into the power of oral storytelling and the benefits of oral storytelling from predicting skills to vocabulary building, expression, empathy, all of these things you can Google to find the articles of and the studies of the power of oral storytelling.
Yes.
And so I'd be happy to chat with teachers on how to teach folk tales without using the book first. So children will be engaged and brought in to be able to tell their stories because that's where writers workshop begins.
Yes.
Being a teacher, I used to get so frustrated when they bring in the writers workshop specialist to the classroom. She would go around. Those kindergartners will cry because they're forced to write a story and they're still learning vocabulary, one,
Right.
but they're forced to do it because they feel like they have to be perfect. And it's almost like we skip the building block step of what is story? Story starts with our words. You verbally tell a story first. You get the ideas. You come in for an hour and you want them to write a story from out of their brains. They don't even have enough life experience.
No.
So I used to get so frustrated that I would have to leave the classroom because I don't like to see children break down and cry or ask to be, spell the word right or that sentence. No. After you have the visual, like verbal, let them tell it to us. And we all celebrate an oral story. Let them draw a picture and you tell us about the picture. And like, there's so many building blocks that we
Yes.
forget of oral storytelling and to lead us to writing stories. And I
And it's
think
a process. It doesn't, you start it when you're little. You start it in preschool. And even before that, as soon as they can talk, you start being able to tell a story. They want to tell us the stories of their life. I mean, how many times do you go do a author visit and you say, any questions? And you don't get questions, you get stories. It happened to me where I had a pig and my pig did blah, blah, blah. But that's part of what they're trying to articulate their experience. And to be able to take that and translate it to paper, it takes so many steps to get there. And I do think that as we chase perfection, which I think we shouldn't be doing in school anyway, or in life, truthfully, but we chase this perfection that's not perfection. And we lose sight of the individual and the power that makes them human. And we forget that there are all these things that go into who we are. And you'll eventually get to being able to write it on paper, but you need to be able to tell it and know beginning, middle, and end, know How do we string these events along to make it compelling? ChatGPT can't do that for us. What it gives you and that's assuming you ask the right questions, it gives you generic stuff. It's not your voice. It's not what makes you you. It gives you what it's pulled from a bunch of stuff out on the internet. And that's not the human experience. So, are there other stories in the works for you, Miss Alicia?
Well, you'd be happy to know one of these stories will be Nani and the monkey.
No way.
Yes. Nani and the monkey is a trickster tale.
I love it.
Nani is tricked by the trickiest trickster that ever could be, Monkey. She is determined to teach him a lesson. On the way of trying to find Monkey, she finds all of these other animals who have been tricked by Monkey. And so she has a group of animals, and they're all going to find Monkey to teach him a lesson. So it's I borrow from an African folktale that features the gum baby, the sticky gum baby,
Mhm.
and the Black American folktale for rabbit, for a fox, and the tar baby.
Yep.
So they create a little gum baby and trick monkey, but we don't know who gets the last trick in the end.
Oh, I love it.
So it's always a trick. It's a little different.
That sounds like so much fun. And as I was reading Nani and as I'm thinking about Nani and the monkey, it's taking me back to that creche that we worked at in South Africa. For me, one of the great joys, Juana Martinez Neal, Molly Idle, John Rocca, and Kayla Heron designed a mural for this preschool, like for the wall. I'm like, it's got to be the only mural that was painted by 3 Caldecott award-winning illustrators. And I swear to you, Kayla is going to be the 4th. Just give this girl time. She's amazing. And they were kind and they let the rest of us, I made beautiful circles. And so I got to do stuff on it. But part of it is these authors were going through and they read their stories to the kids. And, and they were being translated into Zulu by the teachers, which for me was just so fascinating to watch. Again, it's that oral storytelling and to watch the kids receive it twice. But there was a moment when the preschoolers had left and some of the primary school kids came in because, they had family who was working. And this little girl, Lundra, and I didn't have anything to do at the time. And so she was curious. And so I had her sort of help me paint some circles. And then I was like, do you want to read some stories? And so we went and rated the books that had been given to the teachers. And so we start reading the stories. And I'm like, wait, do you want to meet the person who wrote the story? And so I took her over and I introduced her to Juana, and her eyes got really big, like, oh my gosh, this is the person who did the book. And then, do you know Leah Henderson?
Lovely, yes.
She's one of my favorite humans. So Leah is in there and she's got her hummingbird book. And I said, I don't need to read this to you. Leah, you're going to read this book to Lundra. And it was one of the most amazing moments of give and take I've ever seen, to see Leah read her story and Lundra receive it. And just the beauty of that folktale going back and forth between them. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I want your books to go to this preschool. I want Lundra to get your books and to know you and to hear your stories. And I hope that there are ways to get those out. I mean, and I know there are Lundras all over. There are Lundras in Charlotte and, Lundras here in New Hampshire. But anytime we can connect author and illustrator and story with the audience, it's such a beautiful moment.
I think that's one of my favorite things is to have those moments. It makes it so much more real. Even when I'm doing storytelling, that's not even my book. It's a connection that you have. And since we are so much more needy of having this connection, that's what oral storytelling does because it uses eye contact as well. It uses body gestures. So you're engaged and you're pulling in your audience to a moment in a whole different setting and then allowing them to take part in this story. right? With the call and response.
Yep.
So there's so much joys to creating bonds through literacy and storytelling. I
Well,
love
I want you to teach that class. And when you do, you're going to let me know. And I'm going to start promoting the heck out of it to all of my teachers.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's figure that out. I would love it.
I think it would be really fun. So that may be something we need to talk about because I think we should create this class. It's a beautiful class.
Mm.
So, last question for today. What is currently bringing you hope? What is currently bringing you joy?
Mm. What is currently bringing me hope? Just being able to meet people that are so busy in their own worlds, stop and engage. When I go to places with all the doom and gloom that we hear through the airwaves, I see some people living their best lives. That brings me hope. I truly, truly believe that energy is so important. And so when you have areas of joy, it just ripples out. So that gives me hope that it will
Love
catch on.
that.
What brings me joy? Laughter. Laughter brings me joy. Smiles bring me joy. Music brings me joy. I've learned that joy is a choice, and I just choose joy. So for me to wake up every day and find those things that I appreciate, and I rattle off 10 things. I used to do that before going to bed because I was stressed to calm my nervous system, and I have evolved. So I get to see beauty in this world. And just something to just be so grateful and joyful for that there is beauty in this world.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that.
I do too. Well, I appreciate you so much, Alicia. And I can't wait to have you back on because I always love chatting with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
It always is. You've been listening to the Adventures in Learning podcast with your host, Dr. Diane. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, download, and let us know what you think. And please tell a friend. If you want the full show notes and the pictures, please go to drdianeadventures.com. We look forward to you joining us on our next adventure.